Episode 1. At the Gunma border, a monk tries to pass. While an officer looks at his papers, the monk notices a wanted poster for Bisco Akaboshi. The officer tells him that Bisco had turned Mount Akagi into a mushroom mountain. The monk then wonders why they call him a man-eater, and the officer explains it's because he eats people. The officer wonders if the monk's name, Wataragani Wataru, is fake, and the monk states it's his monastic name as he cast away his real name. Hearing that he is headed to Imihama, Uda explains the monk is on a funeral journey, and that most monks pass through Gunma nowadays, as beyond the gate it's an endless desert of iron. The officer corrects Uda that any criminal escaping Gunma and heading to Imihama also needs to pass the gate. They are Gunma's last line of defense, and because of that, they need to be sharper to catch any of the wanted criminals who might try to pass. Meanwhile, in the city of Imihama, mild-mannered Dr. Milo Nekoyanagi examines a patient with the rusting disease but is glad that the rusting had stopped spreading. Meanwhile, a manju vendor purchases a mushroom from a dealer. Milo stops at the manju vendor and gets some food for himself and his sister. He asks the vendor if he has any mushrooms and buys all the mushrooms. The vendor refuses to take money from Milo, stating that he just treated his daughter for free. However, Milo leaves the money and tells him to come to visit him again once his daughter's medicine runs out. Milo then returns home, telling his sister Pau that he brought food. He then heads into the next room where he uses the mushroom on the drug synthesizer, commenting that he is ready to use any ingredient as long as it gives results and he can cure rust disease. Pau hears on the news that a mushroom colony has been spotted in Saitama's Iron Desert, and they believe it's the same terrorist that Gunma already announced is dead. Milo then informs Pau that he is going out for a bit to deliver medicine to the manju's vendor daughter. Pau tells him to be careful and that the mushroom terrorist, Bisco Akaboshi, is in Saitama's desert, but she doubts he will reach Imihama. Milo Nekoyanagi cuts deal with Governor Kirikawa to acquire medical equipment for his research into the rusting disease. At that moment, Bisco shoots an arrow landing nearby Kirikawa and Milo and sprouting mushrooms. At the Gunma border, the officer notices the monk's bow and wonders if the monk's Tenka order allows the use of bows. The monk explains he isn't prohibited from killing. The officer is aware of that but comments that bows and guns are forbidden for them as it prevents them from feeling the weight of killing. At Imihama, Bisco fights with the Imihama's watch, and Pau prepares to leave. Milo returns and refuses to let her go, and having no choice, Pau knocks him out. Soon after Pau leaves, Milo wakes up. He heads towards his synthesizer, revealing all the new mushroom types he got from the manju vendor. Bisco then appears behind him and asks him if he can produce medicine. Episode 2. At Gunma border, Officer Inashige realizes he isn't a monk and pulls out his gun and shoots at the monk, scratching his bandages and revealing it's Bisco Akaboshi, who then shoots an arrow at the gate and causes a mushroom explosion. At Imihama, Bisco tells Milo that he won't get medical value from the mushroom he has and gives him a lurker shroom, stating it's the best one for healing. Bisco then notices some men with masks outside the clinic, who shoot at him. They tell him that the governor had ordered them to kill him if he resists and asks him to surrender. Bisco points out he has a hostage, but the men still open fire. Seeing no hesitation to shoot, Bisco fires his arrows which create giant mushrooms. He grabs Milo and Jabai and runs. Back earlier at the Gunma border, Bisco tells Jabai that they failed and to wake up Akutagawa as they need to run. Bisco and Jabai then ride Akutagawa, a giant crab, while being chased by armed hippos. They manage to deal with the first ones, but more common. Bisco tells Jabai that they will be soaring on king trumpets. Pau reaches the Imihama watch station, and she judges from the mushroom trail that Bisco is heading toward the governor's office. The vice captain had already sent out men from the squad. They return, informing Pau and the vice captain that Governor Kirikawa had his men guarding him and didn't need the watch. As they were returning to the station, they also saw Kirikawa's men engaging Bisco. Earlier at the Gunma border, Bisco shoots out an arrow to bloom a king trumpet. As Jabai counts down and the mushroom starts to bloom, they jump on the mushroom and are then thrown into the sky and jump over the border walls. Kirikawa berates the mercenary Uchigama Tyrol for allowing them to escape even though they managed to land a direct hit on the Jabai. Milo's sister Pau dons her uniform as captain of the Imihama Watch and goes into action on her motorcycle to apprehend the wanted villain, Akaboshi Bisco. Bisco evades Kirikawa's forces and captures one of the bunny masks who turns out to be Uchigama Tyrol. However, before he can question her, he is confronted by Captain Pau. Episode 3. Milo transfuses some blood to Jabai, but is afraid that even if he heals now, the rusting will soon kill him. To his surprise, Jabai is conscious and states he has no more than a month. Milo explains that Bisco is distracting the men outside and asks who is Jabai. Jabai then introduces himself, stating that he is Bisco's mentor. Bisco and Pau fight and their skills impress each other. Bisco is surprised she can still move that well given how bad her rusting is. Pau gets annoyed, blaming him for spreading the rust. But Bisco states that the mushrooms don't spread the rust, but grow by consuming it. Jabai tells the same thing to Milo. Milo states that a lot of creatures have gone extinct, but he believed there should be at least one organism that adapted and thrive off the rust. Hao doesn't believe Bisco and tells him that if this is true, he should go and save Japan. But Bisco states he can't do it due to people like her who get in his way. Jabai explains that mushroom keepers grow mushrooms in places dense with rust, but purifying doesn't start right away. Because of that, casual people see mushrooms growing where rust is dense and started to believe the mushroom keepers spread rust. Hao still refuses to believe Bisco and continues their fight. She blames him for growing mushrooms in cities as vengeance for prosecuting mushroom keepers. Bisco denies it, stating he is looking for Rust Eater. Jabai explains that there is a legendary mushroom born from the prayers of a dying hero and is able to completely absorb even the deepest rust, be it from man or machine. Bisco states that he is looking for the Rust Eater to save a friend and wishes to pass, but Powell refuses to let him go. Looking at her, Bisco feels some resemblance to Milo and states he found a great doctor. Powell gets angry and asks if he did something to Milo. Jabai explains to Milo that the Rust Eater mushroom is rumored to be near a nest of monsters at a place called Weeping Child Ravine in Akita Prefecture. Bisco subdues Powell with a drugged arrow and he takes her to Milo and Jabai, but is surprised to see that Jabai is fine and moving already, and Jabai explains he is alive thanks to Milo. Milo then sees Powell and explains it's his older sister. Bisco explains he used some knockout poison mushrooms and Milo can give her some of the medicine he gave Jabai to make her feel better. Milo injects Powell with the serum he made from Bisco's mushroom and then offers to join Bisco to seek the Rust Eater mushroom while Jabai recovers. Bisco reluctantly agrees as traveling mushroom keepers operate in pairs like a tag team and they head for the North Gate. Bisco fires an arrow into the ground, causing a giant mushroom to sprout beneath them which catapults them over the wall. As they run, they pass Nico War Memorial. They stop there for the night, but then the Nico War Memorial moves and reveals it's on the back of a giant crab. Episode 4. After escaping Imahama together, Bisco and Milo continue their journey on foot. Milo questions Bisco if they are going in the right direction as he doesn't believe Akita is the way they are going. Bisco gets annoyed and tells him to not question him and that this is the right direction. As they travel, they reach a field of driftweed and Milo gets excited, explaining that absorbs light from the sun and glows at night. Bisco gets annoyed again, yelling at Milo for being carefree as the driftweed glow attracts bugs and beasts at night, so he wants them to continue moving and get away from there while it's daylight. A moment later, Milo faints. Milo wakes up a bit later and Bisco shows him 2 lizards he caught. They cook them and Bisco explains to not chew, but swallow them as they are bitter. After eating, Milo explains that he believes that Pawu has 3 months left, but Jabai only has 1 month. Even if the Rust Eater is in Akita, they won't be able to get it and return in time by traveling on foot. Bisco states he has a plan and explains they can use the mines of the Ashio Bonkol Mountains as a shortcut. They continue their travel, but Milo states that he heard the iron mice live in the mines and the 2 of them may not be enough. Bisco then notices a crab claw and states they have a 3rd member in whistles and Akutagawa comes out of the ground. Bisco explains it's his brother and it's a steel crab. As he doesn't like heat, he knew Akutagawa would bury himself somewhere. Milo then realizes why they were heading the wrong way. Bisco explains that the beasts in the mines won't attack anything they can't eat and that Akutagawa can go through any terrain. Milo struggles to ride the giant crab, but he finally manages to control it. Later, the pair stop by an old abandoned gun emplacement at Nikko Senjigahara to rest and inside they find Tyrell struggling to breathe. Milo quickly saves her from a balloon worm that Kurikawa secretly planted inside her which expands without regular doses of an inhibitor. Tyrell repays the favor by trying to sell them some of her goods, but they only buy a box of biscuits. Tyrell dumps out a jug of expired coal-based fuel that activates the facility built on top of a giant mantis shrimp. With Bisco's help, Milo is able to direct Akutagawa and stop the shrimp's rampage. However, it fires off one last cannon shell that blows up the mine entrance Bisco hoped to use to pass through the Ashio Bonkol Mountains to Niigata. Bisco and Milo take an alternative route across the Calvero Shelsen Sea wasteland and arrive at a ruined city. When Bisco grabs a boy carrying a watermelon, they come under fire from armed children. And that's all for today, guys. Stay tuned to get more new videos. Stay safe and keep watching.